Before we begin, we're going to talk about the importance of the legacy of Hispanic families in agriculture. Why is it important to mention this? Because through this legacy of Hispanic families in agriculture, you preserve the story of the families through generation. Also, these families ensure their families and their community, and we reach a sustainable of the family actives through generations. So it is very important that these Hispanic families can preserve their history legacy so that it can last through generations. So in this morning, we have chosen three families with farming businesses. The first one is the Sanchez Santos family, which have the Dragon Fruit Nation farms located in Florida. This family, it is composed by Mr. Ruben Sánchez, an agronomist. He was born in Venezuela. He was involved in horse racing because his father, who was Puerto Rican, was a horse trainer. Ruben then graduated from the Escuela Nacional de Hacienda in Venezuela and then worked with an custom agent for 30 years. Then he bought the shares of the Dragon Fruit Nursery farms to one of his friends, and then he invited his niece to join him in this venture. His niece, Elide Santos, was also born in Venezuela, and her grandparents were agronomists producing cocoa and coffee. She arrived to the United States at age of 18. She studies English in the Florida Language Institute. Then she studied international marketing in the Miami-Dade College, and she worked for 8 years in Evergreen, America. She has a bachelor's of psychology at the Carlos Alviso University, and her purpose with this business of pitaya, she helps people with diabetes because of the benefits of pitaya fruit. The next family that we will have is family Guerrero. Guerrero family, they have a nursery. It's called the Rogers Plant Nursery, and their main producer or the leader is Jose Guerrero, an agronomist who was born in San Miguel de Allende, Mexico, and migrated to the United States at age 9. Started working as an operator for nurseries, and then he started his own business called Rogers Plant Nurturing with his mother in Forest Hill, Louisiana. Jose is graduated from the training program of the Luciana Center and in the acceleration system for businesses. The third family that we will have is the Espinosa family. They have the livestock Espinosa business in the Rancho, Brisas farm in Puerto Rico. Their lead agronomist is Carlos Espinosa Avila. It's a livestock person of third generation that have been doing this business for 60 years, particularly with livestock. And Carlos Espinosa has 29 years of experience in this trade. The family started with their grandfather, Modesto Espinosa, who cultivated fruit and sugarcane. Their son, Carlos Ángel Espinosa, known as Piro, started with the livestock business and brought his son Carlos, who is the leader of this work of livestock, to continue with the family legacy. Carlos studied in the UPR in agronomist industries, and together with his son Carlos Espinosa Jr. and Sara Espinosa, they lead this family business. Sara Espinosa was a student of internship from mano-Y-ola, and now she works as soil con conservationist in Indiana State. And her son, Carlos Espinosa, also was an internship student in mano-Y-ola, and right now is the right hand for Carlos Espinosa Sr. in the business. So We're going to see these interviews that we did to these three families that I wanted to introduce, where they gave a lot of information of how they have kept the family legacy through the different generations. Let's share. So how many years have you been established in this drago production? We have been in business for 8 years, so far counting this year. Okay. So I'm asking you, how many people are involved in this operation?
Ok, normalmente
Okay.
durante la
Normally,
cosecha
during the harvest,
involucra a los
it kind
dirigentes que
of involves
somos
the leaders
el
who
tío, señor
are
Ruben
my
Sánchez,
uncle, Mr. Ruben
Carlos,
Sánchez, Carlos,
el capataz
uh, the
y
foreman,
dos obreros más.
and
O
two
sea,
other
estamos hablando de
workers.
5 o 6
So we are
personas.
talking about 5 or 6 people.
Durante la cosecha
During the
están eso,
harvest,
más todos los obreros
there's
que se
this plus
utilizan
all the
entre
workers who are
15 a
used
30
between
personas.
15 to
¿Sí?
30
La
people.
cosecha empieza
The harvest
abril
starts
hasta
in
noviembre.
April until November.
Después de eso,
After this,
nos quedamos con
we are left
normalmente 6
with
personas.
normally around
Pero
6
durante
people.
la cosecha,
But during the
porque la cosecha
harvest,
son
because the
recogidas
harvest
entre cada
is
2 semanas,
picked
entonces
every
se
2 weeks,
emplean entre
then
15 a 30
between
personas
15 to 30
dependiendo de la
people are
cantidad de fruta que
employed
se vaya a
depending on the
recoger.
amount of fruit that is
So,
going to be
yo
picked.
hago todo lo que es administrativo
So
de la
my job is to do all the
oficina,
administrative
hago
work
los
at
reportes
the
al
office,
Departamento de
the reports
Agricultura,
to the Department of
someto
Agriculture.
también los envíos,
I
hago la
send
nómina
all the
sacando las
reports.
horas
I do the
cada 4
payrolls,
personas
taking
trabaja,
out
hago
the
los
hours for
cheques,
each person that
también
worked. I
hago
write
las
the
ventas,
checks.
que
I
ahora este
also take
año
care of the
quisimos de
sales,
buscar
which
más compradores
this
porque
year
nosotros
we try to
normalmente
find more
dependemos de los
buyers
packing
because normally
houses,
depend on
pero
the
este año
packages,
como
packet
fuimos
houses. But this
sorprendidos
year,
con
as we were
una
surprised with
cantidad
an
abrumadora de importación de
overwhelming
dragon
amount of
fruit por el
imports of
pitaya
dragon fruit
a los
or
Estados Unidos,
pitaya to the United
nos
States.
sacó
Um,
del comfort zone de
it
solamente
kind of
depender a
took
los
us
packing
out of the
house y
comfort
buscar
zone,
otras alternativas de
and we
venta.
had to look
So,
for other
bueno,
sales
tuve
alternatives, right? So
la experiencia de lo
we
que es
had the
salir allá y buscar
experience of
distribuidores
going
más
out there
pequeños
and
y vender
looking
la fruta en
different
menos cantidades
packages and maybe sell the
que
fruits
lo que
in
se hace
different
normal con los packing
amounts
houses,
of
que
what we
se
do
le vende por
normally with
tonelada.
packing houses that we
Mientras que
sell
en esta
with
parte, como
by
se
tons.
vendió este año,
Well, in
solo fue
this part that we
por
did this
pallets,
year,
you
it
know? O
was
sea, por
also
cajas.
by boxes.
Una experiencia más,
So it was another
pero que
experience to
la
do,
tuvimos que hacer
but we
para
had to do it
salvaguardar la fruta, para
to
venderla,
save the
aunque
fruit,
sea
to
a un
sell it,
precio muchísimo
even
menor, en
at
lugar de
a
tener
much
que
cheaper
botarla
price, and
como lo
instead of
hicieron
having
otros
to
agricultores en la zona.
throwing away like other
Sí, y me imagino que esto es
farmers
un
had to
gran
do.
reto
And
también
I
para
imagine
poder
this is a big
hacer que los
challenge
miembros más jóvenes de la
to
familia
make
se
sure
interesen en el
that
negocio, debido
younger
a que
members
estos
of the
problemas de
family get
sustentabilidad
interested
del
in the
negocio pues
family,
afectan tal vez en la
because this
proyección en el
affects
futuro de
the
lo que puede
future
ser, ¿verdad?, el
projections
negocio a
of
largo plazo.
what this could
Pero
be
yo me
long
imagino
term.
que también,
But I can also
no
imagine
importa estas
that
vicisitudes o
these
estos obstáculos,
vicissitudes
ustedes
don't
los
matter
llevan al
of these
campo y
obstacles.
han
You
hecho
take it
que le cojan amor
to the
al
farm,
negocio agrícola
and
como
you have
tal, a la
made them to
agricultura como,
love the
¿verdad?,
agriculture business
como
and the
modo de vida,
agriculture as such, as a way
de
of
ganarse
life,
la
as a
vida.
way of
Y,
earning a
y
living.
me gustaría también
And
que
I
entonces
would also
hablar
like to
un poco
talk
acerca
a
de la
little bit
función
about the
de
role
Rubén y de
of
Carlos en el
Ruben and
campo.
Carlos in the
Rubén,
field.
Bueno,
cuéntame.
yo
Ruben, tell us.
actúo como
I
representante
act as the
principal de
main
la
representative
compañía
of the
en
company
cualquier
in
contrato,
any
cualquier
contract or
convenio.
any
Una vez que lo
agreement.
estudiamos y lo aceptamos,
Once we
yo lo
study it,
acepto, lo firmo.
we
Y también
accept
la
it
compra de
and sign it.
maquinaria
And I
o
also
la
purchase the
instalación
machinery or the
de un sistema
installation
nuevo como el sistema
of
que
a new
acabamos de adoptar,
system, such as the
que es lo más
system we
moderno, el
have just
sistema de riego
adopted,
gota a gota,
which is
que
the drip irrigation
ameritaba una
system,
inversión
which
extra.
requires
Y
an
entonces
extra
había que hacer un compromiso
investment.
y lo acepté
So
y lo
we
firmé
had to
el
make a
convenio, como también
commitment,
si
and I
hay que
accepted
hacer
and signed it,
alguna solicitud
as
de
well as if there
préstamo que
is
sea
any loan
necesaria,
request
también
that may be
actúo en representación
necessary.
de la
I also
empresa
act on behalf of the
previa
company
el estudio y la
after
aprobación
the
de
study
toda la
and
familia
approval of the
que son
whole family who
participantes
are
y los demás miembros
participants and
que
other members who are
integramos los
interested
interesados
in the
en este
business
negocio.
those interested in this
Entonces,
business.
Carlos, me
So,
estaban diciendo
Carlos,
que se encarga
they
del
were
aspecto más
telling me that
tecnológico
you're more
de
in
la
the
compañía
technological
y
aspect, let's
también
say,
con
of
la
the company,
comunicación en el
and also
exterior,
with the
¿verdad?
communication
Lo que tiene
abroad.
que ver con
What has to
países
do with
que son importadores y
countries that
exportadores de
are
esta
importers
fruta.
and exporters of this
Me-
fruit.
Lamento mucho que no haya podido estar
And
con
I
nosotros
am
también,
very
Carlos. Nos hubiese
sorry
gustado
that
que
Carlos
estuviera
could
aquí
not be
para que pudiera
with
entonces
us. We
también
would have
compartir
loved to
con
have him
nosotros sus
here to
experiencias,
share
pero
with us his
además de lo que
experiences.
ustedes
But
me han dicho,
besides
Carlos
what you have
ha
told me,
integrado alguna
Carlos
nueva
has integrated
tecnología
any new
al negocio
technology
agrícola.
to the
¿Qué
agricultural
aportación en el
business.
aspecto
What
tecnológico
contribution
él
has
les ha
he
realizado?
made in the technological aspect?
Bueno, él tiene
Well,
ideas
he has
para
ideas
realizarlas de productos que podrían
for
depender o que
products that
podrían
could depend
obtenerse de la fruta,
or that could be obtained
como
from the
por ejemplo
fruit,
convertirla en pulpa
such as turning it into
y vender
pulp
como pulpa
and
o
selling it as a pulp,
realizar la
or
elaboración de un
making
jugo
a
que
juice
podría llevar
that could
en
be made
su
from
constitución la
uh,
fruta misma de
the
pitaya
the
o de dragon
pitaya
fruit.
or dragon fruit,
Pero
right? In itself.
hemos hecho
But we
gestiones y
have
estamos
taken
esperando
steps,
para ver si
and we're
obtenemos los créditos
waiting to
también para
see if
poder
we can
instalar
obtain the credits
esa
also to be
actividad.
able to
Sobre
install
todo
this new
requiere
activity
la
and everything
adquisición de
that it
maquinarias
requires,
y
the acquisition of
de
machinery
cámaras de frío,
and cold
freezer y
chambers,
congeladores
these
que
freezers, right?
ameritan un
That are
costo alto.
that are
Entonces, hay
expensive,
la
right?
idea, pero se
So the
necesita
idea is there,
financiamiento.
but we need the
Okay.
financing.
Pues muy bien. Le pregunto,
Of
¿siempre se
course,
esperó que este negocio
of
fuera
course.
un legado
It
familiar, un
was
negocio que
always this
subsistiera a
business
través
was
de las
expected
generaciones de
to
la
be
familia?
a family legacy,
Bueno,
something that would
esa fue la
live
idea
through
principal,
different
porque
families. Yes, that was the
tenía
family
mucha
idea,
esperanza. El
because
negocio era mucho
we had
que
we hoped that this
teníamos
business
seguridad de que de allí se iba a mantener la
would
familia.
go, that the
Han
family could
venido los
live of
niños, los
this,
jóvenes,
and
a
the children, the youth
empaparse
have
de las
come
actividades de la
and they
compañía
have to
y les ha
learn the
agradado porque a
activities
todos les gusta
of
la
the
actividad
business, and they've
agrícola.
liked it because they all
Pero
like kind of the agricultural
mientras tanto,
activity.
están
But in the
estudiando,
meantime,
están en
in the
sus
meantime, they're
labores
studying
y se están
in the
educando.
regular
Y estamos
day-to-day
seguros que si el
activities and
negocio es
receiving
exitoso,
education. And
pues
we are sure
indudablemente que
that
van
if
a
the business
querer
is successful,
integrarse
they're
a
going to
la
want to be a
producción y las
part of
actividades
the
de esa.
production
Le
of the
pregunto,
business. Let me ask
¿han
you,
tomado algunos pasos
have they taken any
afirmativos para que
steps
el negocio se mantenga
for
en el
the
control familiar,
business to
en las manos de
continue
la
to be
familia?
in the hands of the
Bueno, aquí
family?
no participamos sino las personas que
Right.
pertenecemos a la familia.
We
Aquí
only
el
participate those
capital
who
está
are
formado lo
family.
que es la
The
propiedad del terreno,
the
la
family is the
maquinaria, las
land
instalaciones
ownership, the
y todo
machinery, the
lo que
installations.
allí hasta ahora
Everything that you
forma
find
parte de un
here
capital que
makes part
constituye
of
la
a
empresa.
capital
Y ese capital
that is part
está
of
distribuido
the business
entre las
that
personas que
constitutes the
pertenecen
company,
a
and
la
this
familia.
capital is
O sea que
distributed
cada
among
uno de
the
nosotros
people who belong to
tiene
the
atrás
family. That
otro
is to say
pariente
that each
que
one
al
of
faltar
us
él es el que va a
behind
ocupar
another
la
relative
posición.
that will
Muy bien.
that when absent is the one that is
Hablando
going to
de la
La
occupy the
posición de
posición
position.
propietario. Ah,
I'm talking
posición de
about
propietario.
ownership, right?
Ok, hablando de las
Okay,
relaciones con la
I'm
comunidad, ¿qué
talking
ha
about the
significado
relationships
esta
with the
producción
community.
agrícola de su familia
What
en la
this
comunidad
agricultural
cercana
production of
de
your family,
ustedes?
what has it meant to your nearby
bueno,
community?
muy buenas relaciones, porque
Well, we have
resulta que
great
la fruta
relationships
es
because as it
apetecida
turns out the
y
fruit
es querida
is
y le gusta a la
desired
gente por sus
and is
cualidades
loved and liked
y
by
lo que
people because
ofrece,
of their
pues, desde el
qualities
punto de
and
vista
what
de
this
que
fruit
trabaja en los
offers.
riñones, trabaja en
It's
la
good for the
digestión,
kidneys,
trabaja en
it's
el
great
corazón,
for
y usted
digestion,
no
it's
puede ir
good
ni
for
al
the
banco,
heart,
ni al comercio,
and
ni
you
a
can
ninguna
neither
parte
go
sin
to
que
the
la
bank or
gente
the
le pregunte, ¿cómo
commerce
está la producción de
before,
pitaya?
hey,
Mira,
how is the dragon fruit
¿cuándo viene
production
la fruta?
coming?
Y están
When is
pendientes
the
y uno
fruit
les lleva.
coming?
Desde la gente del
And
banco
they're
a
waiting
todo,
to the
hasta la
bank,
gasolinera,
even at the gas
pendiente
stations.
de la pitaya. Y
They have
nos conocen en ese sentido.
they know
¿Hay
us
alguna
in this manner.
diferencia
Is there any
entre este
difference
negocio de la pitaya
between
cuando
this
ustedes
business of
comenzaron
the dragon
al día
fruit
de
of
hoy?
when you
¿Cómo ha
started
cambiado? ¿Ha
to
cambiado mucho
today? How
esta
has it
industria?
changed? Has this industry changed a lot?
En lo que es la industria en sí, la
In the
forma de
industry in
cultivarlo y la
itself,
forma
in the way
de
of
cogerlo y
cultivating
distribuirlo,
and
se
distributing
mantiene
it,
más o menos igual.
it's
Lo único que
about
podría
the
cambiar es que
same.
quizás si
Maybe it could
el negocio
change
se
if
solidifica,
the
nosotros nos
business
podríamos convertir a
solidifies,
la vez
we
en
could become
distribuidores.
distributors at the
Seríamos
same
un
time.
eslabón
we would remove kind of a link, and then we would be the ones to sell it themselves. But sometimes it hasn't worked like that, and it has changed because when the business started, the way the fruit was picked, all of that obviously has evolved. All the techniques and all of that has evolved. It is definitely not the same. We used to pick, you know, it was, you know, buckets. We would pick a bucket. Sometimes we would pick in bag, in nylon, and then we would carry them. So obviously now it is a more massive production. It's put it directly into the bean, and to the bean goes directly to the packing house. So before it was more kind of simplistic or rudimentary. So technology has improved the ideas that we share with other farmers to improve each other. So it definitely has evolved the way in which we pick the fruit.
El nombre de mi nursería es Rogers
The
Plant
name of
Nursery,
my nursery
que de hecho viene de un apodo que
comes from a
tenía mi
nickname
papá para mí,
that they
Roger.
had for me
Nos
when I was young,
dedicamos
actually.
Básicamente es en la producción de
And we focus on the
ciertas
production
plantas
of certain
para,
plants.
En galeras que después
And this is done in
son
galleys, which are later
vendidas a
on then
diferentes
sold
estados,
to different
aquí en Estados
states
Unidos
here
y
in the United States.
se venden en
And
tiendas
they are
comerciales.
sold in commercial stores.
Son diferentes tipos de pastos.
And it's different types of grass, different types of bushes. And since when did it start? When did the business start? In what year did you begin? I guess the very first person that started this business. This business is very new in comparison to others. Maybe about 3 years. And how many people are working in this agricultural production? At the time, 5 staff members is myself, my mom. And can you tell me a little bit about the difficulties that you carry out, or the different responsibilities, better said? Which responsibilities does each one of you have? Yep, basically, I would say that I'm the person that's in charge of everything that has to do with the business aspects of it. So I'm in charge of the sales and the clients. So they have my information and they contact me and I process the orders. So I manage the different accounts. Yep, basically that's what I do. So all the things that are sort of required for the business to be able to run well. And my mom helps a lot with sort of the workers. And she's working in terms of planting, things like that. So I wanted to know, did you always expect this to be a family business? Like the reason that it was established was to be able to have a business that could be passed on from one generation to the other? Yes. Yes, it actually was established, or this business was established, well, basically to be able to support ourselves as a family. And yes, of course, thinking about the future, our hope is that it can continue to sustain the rest of the family. Thank you so much. And did you always expect the business to be the way that it is now? Or what were the initial expectations that you had? And how can you compare this to the reality of the business at this time? How has it changed? Well, perhaps at the beginning, we thought that it was going to be a little bit easier than what it actually ended up being. Definitely, there's a lot of things that you hear about, and so, or the better say, like, you think they sound easy, but at the end of the day, these are things that take a lot of time. Yeah, that's what I would say, basically. Currently, which other members of your family do you think that could take on after one of you two? Is there maybe somebody in the family, a nephew, somebody that's involved, or that could perhaps be involved in the future for this business?
Por el momento solamente
So at the time
somos
being,
nosotros dos,
it
quizás en el
is
futuro.
just the two of us. Perhaps in the
Tengo un
future,
hermano que
we
vive
do
fuera
have
del estado.
I do have a
Él
brother that lives
siempre
outside
habla
of the
de
state, and
quizás
he's
venir
always talking
a
about
vivir
perhaps
aquí a
coming
Luisiana
to live here in
y
Louisiana.
nosotros le abriríamos
And
los
we,
brazos
of course, would have our arms would be open to receive him.
trataríamos de que nos pudiera
And
ayudar
we
en
would
esta
try to
operación.
have him help us out with this operation.
Te hago una pregunta. ¿Quién se interesó
I have a question
primero
for you. So who was interested
en
in
este
this
negocio, tu
first?
mamá
Was it
o
your
tú?
mom or you?
Yo me interesé en
Actually,
este negocio primero.
I
De
got
hecho, yo
interested in this work first.
empecé a trabajar en una
I
nursería
started working in a
cuando llegué aquí a
nursery
Luisiana
when I first arrived to
y
Louisiana.
les platiqué a mis padres
And so I started
sobre este
telling my
negocio
parents about this business.
y después es cuando ellos hicieron la decisión de
And that's when they made the
venir a
decision
apoyarme con este
to
negocio.
come and help support me with this
Cuando tu
business.
papá estaba
So
dentro de la operación
when your
agrícola, ¿se
father was
tomaron
involved
algunas
in this work,
medidas
were there
tanto
any steps
administrativas o de
taken in
tipo
terms of,
legal
I
para
don't know,
que el
perhaps
negocio
administrative or
pudiera
legal,
pasar a tus
so that the
manos,
business could be passed on to your
para que
hands?
entonces pasara, ¿verdad? Administrativamente hablando,
So in terms
Sí.
of the
¿se
administration
alguna
of it,
gestión?
do you do anything?
Administrativamente
Any,
no hicimos
not
nada de eso,
administratively, we didn't do
más que
any of
nada
that,
porque fue muy
mainly
espontáneo
because it was very
y
spontaneous.
en realidad para nosotros creo que nunca fue una pregunta de quién
So for us,
más
it wasn't really a
podría estar
question
involucrado
of like
porque
who
solamente
else could get
éramos
involved,
nosotros
because
dos,
really
así
it was
que
just the two of us.
nunca hubo cuestión de que
So
quizás
we never
tuviéramos
had this sort
otro
of question
familiar
or issue
cercano
as to like,
que
hey, which
quizás
other
fuera
family member
a
nearby
tratar
could
de
perhaps
tomar el negocio
take over the
algo así.
business or something like that.
Vamos a hablar ahora entonces
So let's
acerca
talk a
de
little bit
tus relaciones
about
con la
the
comunidad,
relationship that you have
las
with the
raíces que este
community
negocio ha
and the
echado
roots that
en la
this
comunidad.
business has really sort of
¿Qué tú entiendes, ¿verdad? O
grown,
cuál
no,
tú entiendes ha
in the
sido la
community. So what do
aportación
you think has
de
been
tu
the
negocio,
contribution
el negocio
that
tuyo
your
y de tu
business
mamá
has
a la
done
comunidad en
to
donde
the
están?
community and where you live?
Este negocio siento que ha aportado
I feel like this
en diferentes maneras a la
business
comunidad,
has supported
más que nada
or contributed
porque
to the community
en
in
realidad
different
aquí es
ways.
una comunidad
Because
de
this is a community
muchas
that,
nurserías que están
well, we have a
juntas,
lot
así
of
que
nurseries that are here together.
es casi como si
So
estuviéramos
it's
en un
almost
grupo de
as
comunidad
if we
ahora,
had like this
que
big
ahora todos
community over
tenemos,
here. And now all of us
hacemos un poco de lo mismo
do a little bit of
y
the same kind of
también más que
work.
nada ha abrido muchas puertas a conocer
And it
a
has
mucha
opened up a
gente,
lot of doors for us to be able to
que
get to know other
ahora
people.
en realidad tenemos comunidades en
And
ciertas
now we have
otras partes de la
communities
vida,
in other parts.
como en la iglesia, ahora
So
quizás
now actually we
nos
also,
juntamos
for
más
example, in our
todos allá.
church, we all get
Estas
together over
otros
there.
negocios que están adyacentes o que están cercanos
Other
a,
businesses that
o
are
que
close
forman parte
by
también de tu
or
comunidad,
that are part of your
¿también son
community,
familiares?
are they
¿Son negocios de
also
familia?
family
Que tú
businesses?
sepas.
Hay unos
Do you know?
cuantos que han sido
There's some.
pasados
There are
quizás
some
una o
that
dos
perhaps
generaciones,
has been
pero la
passed
mayoría
down by
son
one or two
primera
generations,
generación.
but
Vamos
many
a
or
hablar
most of them are
entonces
first generation.
sobre cómo ha cambiado,
Okay, so
¿verdad?
let's talk a little bit
El
negocio
negocio
how the business has
desde que
changed
comenzaste hasta el día
from
de
the moment
hoy.
that you
¿Y
started
qué
until right
técnicas
now.
o qué
And what
estrategias
techniques or what
has
strategies
utilizado
have you
para
utilized
poder innovar en tu
to
negocio?
be able to innovate
Algo
in your
que ha
business?
cambiado
Something that
de mi
has
negocio
changed from my
es quizás la
business
expectativa
is the
de producto
expectation
que yo tenía
of the
al
product that I
principio cuando
had at the
empecé.
beginning when I first
Tenía
started working.
planeado
I was
solamente
planning
producir
that I was
ciertos
going to
tipos de
produce
plantas
certain types of
y
plants.
ahora que han pasado
And
un
now
poco de
that
tiempo, he
time has gone
notado que
by,
quizás
I have noticed
haya
that
mejores oportunidades en
there are
diferentes tipos de
perhaps
plantas.
better
Así
opportunities with different kinds
que he
of
tenido
plants.
que
So
hacer un poco
I've had to
de research,
do a little bit of research
pues sí, para tratar de encontrar
to be able
qué
to
plantas se venderían
find
mejor.
which plants
¿Cuál
would
es tu
sell best.
visualización de lo que sería tu negocio de
What
aquí
is your
a
vision
10
for
años
your
en el
business in
futuro?
10 years?
Sería un negocio que es
It would be a
más
business
grande,
that is
quisiera,
larger.
más probable para ese tiempo
And by that
necesitaría apoyo
time, I would hopefully
de
have
personas,
the
de trabajadores
support of
que vienen con
staff
visa
members or people that
H1,
can come perhaps as
que
H2-1
y probablemente
workers,
traería un poco
and that would
de
probably
mis familiares
bring
de
some
México
family
para
members from Mexico
pues,
to be able to
apoyarme un
help
poco,
support
así
us as
que
well.
podríamos tener un poco más de familia aquí cercanos y
That way we can have more family
básicamente sería
nearby.
un negocio que esperemos nos pudiera soportar
it is our hope that this
completamente
business
a
can really
nuestras
help
familias.
to fully support our
¿Qué
family.
tendrías que decirle a todas
What
estas
would you want
familias que
to
están
tell? What would you want to
comenzando, que
say
son
to all
nuevos
those
tal
families
vez
that are
en,
perhaps just beginning in this,
¿verdad? La agricultura?
that are new
¿Qué
to
tendrías que
agriculture?
decirle
What
para
would you
que
say to them
tengan la fuerza,
so that they can
el
have the
ánimo y
strength, the
¿verdad? La motivación
encouragement, and
para
the
poder
motivation
mantenerse
to be able to
operando
continue doing
y
this
que
work
puedan llevar un negocio exitoso en
and
familia?
that can carry
¿Qué
out a
consejo le
successful
darías?
family
A
business?
esas
What
personas
advice
que
would you give
están
them?
empezando, yo diría que
For those that
ya
are just
el
beginning,
paso
I would tell them
más difícil ya,
that they have
ya lo
already
tomaron en
taken the
realidad,
most
ya
difficult
empezaron un
step
negocio. Creo que ahora
because they started a
solo lo que
business.
tienen que hacer es
So now what they have to do
no tener miedo y
is to
tratar
not be
de buscar
afraid
las
and
maneras
to
que se
try to
requieren
find the different ways
para seguir su negocio, porque a
for them to
veces
be able to
quizás
continue with
tenemos un
their
problema
business.
que se nos hace muy difícil
Perhaps
en la
we
mente tratar de solucionar, pero
end
en
up with
realidad
this problem that
a
seems so
veces
big in our head to be able to solve
es
it.
tan fácil de
But
solamente
really, it
preguntar a
can
otra
be quite
persona
easy.
o
Yes, to
pedir
just
ayuda.
ask somebody else or just ask somebody for
En
help.
primer lugar, quiero
Well,
preguntarle,
first
don
of all, I
Carlos,
do want to
¿cuántos
ask
años
you,
usted lleva establecido en
Carlos,
este negocio?
for
Si me
how
puede hablar
many
del
years have
trasfondo
you been
desde
doing this
la primera
business?
persona
Can you
de su
give us some
familia
background?
que
Who was the
comenzó
first
la
person in
gestión
your
agrícola.
family that started working in
Hablando de
agriculture?
60 años.
Well, that was 60
Ah, no, antes.
years.
70,
Or before, 70.
69.
Yeah, 69 or so
69,
years.
70, ok.
69 or 70
Y
years.
usted me había mencionado anteriormente
And you
que
had
su
mentioned
abuelo,
before
don
that
Modesto
your
Espinosa, si no
grandfather,
me equivoco,
Modesto
¿verdad?
Espinosa, if I'm not mistaken,
Don Modesto comenzó con frutos menores
Mr.
y
Modesto
con el
began
fruto de la caña, ¿verdad? También.
working with the
La
sugarcane,
caña.
correct?
Ahí
Ok.
hubo una transición donde
Yes.
pasó al ganado.
Yes, and then he started working with
Se
cattle.
cambió el ganado. ¿Por qué razón se cambió el ganado?
Why did he switch to cattle?
Venía un cambio donde
Well,
venía
there
una
was a
transición
change.
ya del
There was a
monocultivo
transition coming from
de la
the
caña. La caña
monocrops
estaba
of the
como
cane
que,
sugar. The
como
cane
decían, se
sugar
estaba desapareciendo.
was disappearing.
Y ellos vieron, pues,
And
están
they
los
saw an
terrenos, está
opportunity.
todo lo que
We have the land, we have
falta, pues,
everything.
en qué se iba a hacer.
So they started thinking, what should we
pues
do?
decidieron que el ganado, porque pues el
And they
ganado
decided
como tal,
to work
pues,
with cattle
esos terrenos decían siempre que, pues, que ya estaban,
because we had
ya
the
se había,
land.
la caña ya había comido lo que
And really, they
había,
believed
y
that the
pues,
cane
pues
sugar
con
had
la vaca
extracted from
seguía
the
haciendo
soil
terreno,
everything. And
topsoil, iba mejorando,
but,
si
you
en
know,
un
with the
futuro uno
cattle, we could
quería
improve the soil.
volver a los frutos.
So in case you ever wanted to go back to the
pues, y
fruits.
se decidió por
So
la
that's what we
leche,
decided to
era en
do.
ese momento, pues,
And we decided to sort of
una
focus on
industria muy
milk
sólida
production
y factible, donde
because it seemed like
el
something that
agricultor
was, I don't know,
tenía
had very
algo
good potential.
más seguro, digamos así,
And it would be sort of something that would give us
vendiéndole
more
las plantas
certainty in terms of
posterrizadoras al
being able
momento,
to
y todo era más fluido.
llevadero, más
do,
fluido.
yeah, we
también.
sort of, yeah,
Okay,
just easier to
don
do.
Modesto Espinosa Rivera, que es su abuelo, pues
Mr.
usted me cuenta que
Modesto, your
comenzó con lo que era
grandfather,
la
you told me
lechuga
that he
y
started
cilantro,
with lettuce
hacen
and
el cambio a la
cilantro,
caña, y
then you
entonces es
switched
su
to cane
padre,
sugar,
don Ángel
and then
Manuel
your
Espinosa
father, Angel
Espinosa,
Manuel
alias
Espinosa
Piro,
Espinosa,
que
called
comienza entonces
Piro,
con el negocio
who
de la
then
ganadería.
started with the business of
Le
the cattle.
pregunto,
So I wanted to ask you,
¿cuántas personas envuelve esta
how
operación?
many
Desde,
people are
desde ese
involved
momento que
in
usted recuerde,
this production, in this
¿cómo era la
operation?
operación en aquel momento?
So what was it like
Una
in that
operación
area?
grande, porque había que,
Well, it was quite large
esos terrenos que estaban en caña había que cambiar los zapastos,
because you have
el
to
pasto,
do the
la manera de
growing
antes, pues,
of the
no había tanta
grass,
maquinaria,
and the
el
way that
pasto se
things were done before, there was
cortaba
not so much
a machete,
machinery.
habían brigadas de 7,
They
8
had to have a
hombres
lot of
cortando,
7 or
cortando
8
pangola o
men working
estrella
together
en predios,
to prepare the
como la
terrain,
caña, y
like
llenando
for the cane
carretones.
sugar. And then you have to
Esos
just
mismos
fill
carretones de
up,
las cañas, los mismos carretones se llenaban
the same sort
de las
of,
semillas, porque pues esa era la
so you have to
semilla,
sort
la
of clean the
pangola, la
land, and then you have
estrella
to
que
like
la
work with the
cortaba para
seed,
seguir
do the
Propagando.
grazing.
propagando por los corrales para así tener
And that way
un
you
alimento de
could
bajo costo para el
have
ganado,
basically
tener
a
el
low-cost
pastoreo,
food for
poder
the
llevar el
cattle. So you
pastoreo
could
y
have the grazing.
Y le pregunto,
Okay. And I wanted to
¿recuerda
ask
si
you,
su padre le
do
dijo
you
desde qué
remember
edad él
if your father ever
empezó a
told
trabajar
you
con don
at what
Modesto, con su
age he
papá?
began to work with Don
Wow,
Modesto, with your father?
Ellos de bien temprano.
Yeah,
ellos
they
eran
started
una
working at a
familia
very
grande,
early
eran
age. They were a big family.
16, 14
It was
hermanos.
16,
Mhm.
14
Wow.
brothers and
Ahí,
sisters, and
el más grande velaba al más chiquito.
so the oldest one who had to watch over the
Y
little
ahí
ones.
hasta el más chiquito tenía que
And
cargar
even
la
the
cubeta
youngest
de
one
agua
had to
o algo,
carry
no
the buckets of
había
water.
acueducto
You
al
know,
menos
there
en la
was no
zona que
sort
ellos
of
están, no
drain
había
system or anything like
el
that, at least
acueducto ni
not
nada,
where we're
había que cargar
at.
la
So
cubeta, había que llevar
you
el
had to carry
agua,
the
había
bucket of
que
water, you had to
buscar la
carry
leche
it,
para
you had
hacer
to
el
go get the
queso, hacer la
milk to make the
mantequilla,
cheese and the butter.
buscar las gallinas, porque había
You had to
gallinas
go
para
get the
recoger los huevos, había
chickens, you had to
guineas,
collect the
había
eggs,
cerdos,
we had
había de todo para en
pigs,
el
we had a
patio
bunch of
trasero
different things to do, a
para
bunch of
comer
work to do.
panas, aguacate.
You know, and we had all
No,
these
no
things
me
that we could also
cansaría
access in the
de
backyard, even
mencionarte
avocados.
todo
I
lo
mean,
que
I would
tenía
get
mi
tired of
abuelo,
mentioning
mi
all the
abuela
different things that
y
my
mis
grandmother, my
tíos ahí en
grandfather
ese patio
had, and my
trasero.
uncles in the
Y usted
backyard.
me dice que son 12 o 14
Yeah, and he
hijos
told me
y
it was 12 or
solamente fue
14
su papá el
kids,
que
and
siguió con el
only your
negocio.
dad was the one that
No,
continued or did this business?
ahí
No.
hubo, todos trabajaban en la
No, they
agricultura,
all worked in
simplemente
agriculture.
papá
It's just
y
that
otro hermano,
my
Isaac,
dad and another brother,
ellos
Isaac,
se independizaron,
well, they
formaron
became
sus
independent.
ganaderías
So they
aparte, pero
formed their
Ok.
todos los
own
otros
sort of
trabajaban
ranch.
en las
But
ganaderías
everybody else
como
worked
esto
in
era
cattle.
un líder, no sé, era
Yeah. But I guess he
hombre
was a
sabio,
leader. He
digámoslo
was like a
así,
wise
donde
man, let's
sabía
say it.
trabajar
So
y
he
no sé, le enseñó con amor
started
a su
working and he
familia,
really
a
put a
tenerle
lot of
amor
love into it, and he really taught
a
his
la
family about the
tierra, a los
business, and
recursos
he taught his
naturales,
family to
que
really
a
love the land
veces
and love
a lo
natural
mejor ya le han
resources.
perdido la gente,
And this is
pues, el
something that
cariño, el
maybe some
respeto que
people
tenían.
have lost,
Yo,
Dice que
yo me
una
love or
persona...
disrespect.
perdón, yo me atrevo a
No.
decir que él era
I'm
un líder de la comunidad.
He was a leader of the
Sí.
community,
Porque
I would
aún
dare
así tú
say.
mencionas su nombre y es un
Because, you know,
hombre
when you
bien
mention the
querido.
name, it's a
Espinosa.
name that's very
Ustedes,
much loved,
¿cómo
Espinosa.
se ven de aquí a
So how do you
10
see
o 15
yourselves
años?
in
¿Cuál es la
maybe 10 or
proyección
15 years? How do you sort
de
of
este
see
negocio
yourselves in the
familiar?
future, and what is like the plans for the future for this
Ya
business?
15 años. ¿Cómo se
Well,
ve eso, Carly?
in 15 years, how are you visualizing this,
empezamos con
Carly?
la siembra de árboles, que de
Well,
aquí a
we
15
started
años
with the
tenemos
planting of the
aguacates,
trees.
hacedoras y tomatosas.
We have
Chacho,
avocados.
loca por esas
Bueno,
comas
Oh, I
rosas.
can't wait also
Sí,
for the
pero
comatosa.
pues con paciencia, templanza
Well, we
y
have to be
la verdad
patient.
que mucha dedicación.
We have
Y
to have hope.
diversificarnos.
And we have to have a lot of dedication. We have to diversify.
Va a haber, entiendo que va a haber leche,
I understand that we're going
todo.
to have milk,
Tenemos ahí otros
everything.
planes con quesos,
And we have other
mantequilla.
plans with butter,
Candy siempre dice que
cheese.
helados.
Somebody's
Helado,
also
ah,
saying
eso está
ice
bueno.
cream. Ice
Me
cream, that's
encantan.
great.
Eso siempre
I
van a tener un
love
mercado
them.
cautivo ahí.
Boy, you're always
mira,
going to have an
vean,
audience for
Jerry,
that. You're always going to have clients for
Habla con
that.
Sara.
Eso está bueno.
That's
Ok,
wonderful.
entonces hablemos de ya cuando
Okay,
está Piro
so
en la
let's
operación.
talk about
¿Cómo Piro te
Piro.
enganchó a ti en
After Piro
esto de
started
gustarte
working
la
in this, how did he get you
agricultura? Yo
hooked
sé que,
in this whole
¿verdad?
topic
Antes
of agriculture?
eso era un duty de
I
ahora
know
los
that
muchachos
before it
pueden
was a
escoger
duty,
muchas cosas,
but now
pero
the kids
antes
can
eso
choose.
era,
They can
pues,
choose
esto es
whatever
lo
they
que hay,
do.
tienes que bregar.
Before it's like,
Pero
okay,
cuéntame
this
un
is what you
poco
have to do
acerca
and you
de
have to
cómo
deal with it.
empezó
But tell us a
tu vida
little
en la
bit about how your
agricultura
life in agriculture
con Piro.
started with Piro.
Pues para que no me quedara haciendo nada, pues él me
Well,
llevaba,
we didn't want to just be there doing nothing, so he would take me
me traía temprano para la
and he
finca,
would bring
vente,
me
dale
early
para la
into the
finca,
farm.
estás por la
Hey, go to the
mañana,
farm, just
trabaja,
go in
haz
the
lo que tengas
morning, do a
que
little bit of
hacerse, me
work, do what you
ayuda,
have to
hazlo,
do.
y
You
después
can help me
para las
out,
clases.
and then you can go to your
Y ahí
classes.
poco a poco me fue,
And then little by little,
ven y llévame esto,
you know, he would ask
tráeme
me
esto,
to do this
alimenta
or
las
bring that,
becerras,
or, you know,
faltó
feed the
fulano, te
calf, or,
necesito.
hey, this guy wasn't able to come to work. I need you to
Pues,
come, help us out.
ven, siempre estaba como que, mira, tus
And he
hermanos,
was always
¿qué tú
like,
vas a hacer?
well, what are you
¿Te
going to
gusta
do?
esto? Y yo
Do you
como
like
que,
this? And I was like,
no sé,
I
yo
don't
ven,
know.
yo ven y les ayudo, pero
But he would keep telling me,
me
come
gustaban
help
otras cosas.
out. But I liked other things
Pero
too.
en algo del 12 de la universidad,
But
que
in
empezaron
about
las universidades abiertas y eso
12,
para
when
ver,
we're
pues,
thinking about the different
vi un programa
universities,
de
well, I
industria
saw a
pecuaria
program that had to
en
do with the
Mayagüez
livestock industry in
y otro
Mayagüez. And there was another one
Utuado.
in
Y por ahí
Utuado.
me interesé
And
y
that's how
cuando
I
vine a
started
ver
getting interested. And before I knew it,
en el programa
Well, I was
para
involved in
agronomía
the
del Colegio
agronomy
de
program
Utuado,
in the University of
ahí empezó
Utuado,
todo.
and
Y
that's
lo
how
demás es
everything got
historia.
started, and the rest is history.
Pues,
Me
me
enamoré
gustaría.
de las
right.
vacas y de la agricultura.
Well, I like the
Ah,
cows
pues
and I like
está
the
bien.
agriculture.
Le
Oh,
pregunto,
that's good. Okay, I wanted to ask
esa
you.
gestión
So,
inicial que usted
that
tuvo, ¿cuáles eran las
initial
tareas
management that he
que tenía
had,
que
or the different
realizar
tasks that
en
he
aquel
had at the
momento?
beginning, what were those activities
A
that he
veces
had to
era
carry
venir
out? Well,
a supervisar y
sometimes it was
estar
to
con
come
los ordeñadores, a ver la tarea,
supervise
cómo era que se
with the
llevaba a cabo.
cows.
A veces papá me enviaba,
And maybe my
estate
dad
pendiente de
would
lo que
tell me,
hacen, que lo
hey,
hagan
just
bien,
go
que
pay attention to make sure they're doing everything the right
no sé cómo se
way.
hace eso.
So I
Como
would
yo
do
sé
some
que
of
lo están
that.
haciendo mal.
I mean, I don't know if I would
Decía,
know if they were doing it
tú
wrong or
olvídate, tú
not,
te
but
paras allí y me
he's like, hey,
dices,
just
después
stand
me
there.
cuentas
Just
cómo
stand there
hacen
and
las
just tell
cosas y
me what they're
yo...
doing, and then I can
Entonces, pues,
let you
a veces
know.
uno se paraba, ella
So
se
I
lavaba
would
la
just
uva,
go
a veces
there,
no, a veces aquello, a
stand,
veces lo otro.
and observe what
Papá
was
me dice, no, tiene que
happening.
lavarla siempre, tiene
And
que
my
secarla
dad
siempre,
would
tiene
just
que
tell me,
botar los
no, you
chorros
have to always
siempre.
wash it, you always have to
Pues
dry
ahí,
it.
una
So
acción
yeah,
tras la
that's what
otra.
I did.
O sea, que era una escuela
Oh,
constante
so
en
that
todo
was like a
momento, era una
constant
escuela.
education. It was a constant
Sí,
school all the
y
time. Yes, 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 yes.
y cuando faltaba alguien para los
And then
animalitos, pues
when
había que ir a
somebody was
montar a los
missing for the
becerritos
animals,
y
then I had
aprender
to
cómo se
go
trabajaba
feed
con los
them, feed the
becerritos.
calves.
Y a cortar, todavía quedaba caña,
And
a
we
veces
still
había
had
que ir
some
a
sugar
cortar
cane,
caña
so
para
maybe go
triturarla
to cut some sugar cane
llenar carretones de esa
and to
caña
crush
triturada y
it
dársela a
and
las
fill up the
becerras,
wagons with the
de las
crushed sugar
vacas, de lo
cane,
que le
give it
decían
to
la
the
cola.
calves, and to give it to the
Okay.
cows.
Y ahí poco a poco
Okay. And then little by
pues,
little by
enamorando
little, I
y
ended up
como
falling in
que,
love
dice, disciplinando.
with it, and I
Porque
guess
para
learning
esto pues hay
about
que
it
tener, es
and
como el
having the
deporte, hay que tener
discipline,
una
because this is like
disciplina,
sports.
saber
You have to have
madrugar,
like that
saber
discipline, right?
que esos
You need
animales cuentan de
to
ti, que hay
leave
que
your house because
alimentarlos, que hay
those
que
animals are
chequear las
depending
aguas,
on
que
you. You
tengan
have to
agua,
feed
que el
them, you have to check
bebedero
the
esté limpio,
water,
que
you have to make sure that everything's
pues,
okay for
todas
them.
esas
Yep.
tareas que
All those
surgen.
activities that you have to do. That
Pues
come
yo
up.
me imagino que cuando Piro se dio cuenta que ya estabas preparado para
So
dar
I
el
imagine
próximo
that when
paso y poder
Piro
tener, ¿verdad?, tu
realized
propio
that he was
negocio,
ready for the
tuvo que
next
haber
step and
tomado
be able
algunas
to have his
previsiones
own
y
business, he
hacer
had to
algunos
have
pasos para
some
que ese pase de batón se diera
provisions and
oficialmente.
give
¿Qué fue
a
lo que
few
pasó
steps
entonces
for the
cuando ya él
next
se
step,
dio cuenta que podía,
right?
que tenía la
So what
disciplina para
happened?
poder ir al
When did
próximo
he
paso?
realize that he had the
Él
discipline to
me
give the
llevó
next step?
me dijo, mira, esto
Well,
vamos a
he told
hacer,
me, he said,
te voy a
look,
vender esto.
I'm going to sell this for you. You ready?
¿Cómo? No te preocupes, ya yo estoy
Don't
hablando con
worry.
el banco para
I'm already speaking to the bank
que me presten lo que, pues,
so that they
hacer
lend
la
me
compraventa.
for the sale.
En el momento un banco, pues como que era tan
At the
joven, como
moment
que mira, el
at the
muchacho, pero
bank
papá le
because
dijo,
he was so
"Él
young.
puede
They were like,
llevar
look,
esas riendas y
boy,
más.
can
Yo
you
confié en
really
él
follow your dad's
y
steps?
con eso no se
And I
preocupen porque
trusted
pues él
in
se
him,
quedaba
and
como colateral también.
he was kind of like
Al banco, pues,
collateral,
porque
right?
Carlos no puede responder, pues,
If I couldn't
respondería yo pues,
respond,
me volvería a
I
hacer
would
cargo
respond,
del negocio agrícola si
or I
pues,
would go back to the business.
fuera la causa, pero yo sé que no.
If that was
Y
the
aquí pues
case,
llevamos
but I know
9 años.
it's going to be okay.
Ok, entonces ahora tenemos otra
So
generación
now we have a
que,
new
¿verdad?, está usted también
generation
interesado en que
that's
sigas esta familiar.
you want to
¿Qué
continue
técnicas o
this
qué
down to your
métodos ha
family. So what
utilizado para poder
techniques
atraer a estos dos
or what
muchachos que están
methods
aquí
have
con
you used
nosotros
to be
para
able
que
to attract these
esto subsista y que
guys,
pueda
these
seguir
boys and
en
girls
la
that are
familia?
here with us,
¿De
or
qué
these men and
manera
girls?
se ha
In which
logrado?
way
verdad,
have you been able
verdad es que,
to
pues,
achieve
como
this?
hoy en día casi todo,
Nowadays, you know, you see, everything is about
¿entiendes?
this, right? About
Estamos detrás de
the
una
phone in your
pantalla.
hand, the screen.
Pues montamos
Well,
un
we
equipo robot de
started
ordeño,
a robust team
que ahí pues no está ese trabajo físico
that maybe doesn't have to be
tan
this
físico
as physical
del ordeño, pero pues
of
tienes otras tareas más
milking
de
the
más
cows,
tiempo donde
but
tienes que
they
estar
have
monitoreando
other
y
type of
llevando
tasks where they monitor
todo, pero pues hoy en día ahora pues
and they
es
do
mediante una
this.
tablet, una
But
computadora,
today
tú vas
it's through a
monitoreando los
tablet or a
ordeños,
computer. You're
la
going to
enfermedad de
be
la vaca, el color de
monitoring
la leche,
the cow, the color of the
la
milk,
conductividad,
the conductivity,
si tiene fiebre por un
if the
cuarto, por
papa
el
gets
otro, por
fever,
cuál cuarto lo tiene, si
for
la
how
vaca como tal
much
tiene
does he
fiebre,
have, if the cow
si
has a
tiene
fever,
alguna
if they have
síntoma
any
que el robot
symptom
pueda
that the robot can recopilate the data, gather the data, and tell you if this cow presents symptoms. If you will have to improve maybe the feeding, the medication.
Eso también pues aumenta la eficiencia del negocio.
Of course, that makes the business more efficient. Right. I have also heard that there is other technology that has included in the Carlos Espinosa livestock, which has to do with drones, which is also interesting for the youth, something more technological. Tell me, Carlos, how did this start? Well, we had a problem with weed. It was an overwhelming amount. We had the problem of how we're going to get the labor for this. Besides, it's a task that sometimes lasts 1 or 2 months. You have to get in a specific area, and they told us by chance about this drone, which was a method to do the fumigation, and we decided to do this because they said it was cost effective. It doesn't require a lot of labor, just the pilot, one or one other person. So it was the decision that we took. Has this brought your attention that you have then considered to kind of follow the steps of your dad and continue with the family business? Well, I think so, because if we get to practices that are cost effective, that are efficient, and it's going to be useful for the farm, everything is going to be functional. We have to see how costs increase. It is an industry that is going down a little bit. Everything goes up in product. The cows are more expensive. The food that you feed them with, it gets higher and higher. So it's challenges and challenges, steps that we have to do and find the right way to fight back in order to cover this. So, okay, let's talk with Sara. Sara, besides being part of mano-Y-ola, she's also part of NRCS, of the agency, and as a part of this family, has a lot to give regarding to the conservation of natural resources. Tell me, Sara, a little bit about how do you see yourself in this family business, where you are right now? How do you think you can help for this business to continue to grow in an efficient way? Well, when I started the university, I started like that in the agricultural industry, and I love it. I love animals, I love nature, I love the farms, I love to speak with farm workers. I love to know what's happening, I love to know what's going on. And when I graduated, I wanted to be a vet, but I changed my mind. I realized that wasn't my thing. I started to see other options, and NRCS was the option. And now with my position, I've been 1 year as a soil conservationist. I have been working with a lot of classes of different technicals, what type of pasture is good for different weathers, for different cows, and with everything that I've learned, I want to continue learning more and more. And I want to move for specific practice for livestock, specific help for livestock, whether it's meat or milk, and I want to bring all that experience and everything new that I learned to the farm and to continue to improve it. And hopefully it will keep growing. This is an integral, a holistic effort, because truly in the family, everyone can play a role in improving and making the business more efficient. I see in this family that all the bases are covered, and I truly congratulate you, because I believe you have a great future, and this generation can contribute much more to cattle raising. I want to tell you a little bit about the legacy that you live into the community. What do you think it means for the community in terms of education
otras fincas
or
cercanas
what
pueden ver para
other
mejorar su producción,
nearby farms
también lo
can
que
see to improve
significaría
their
en el
production, and
aspecto de
also
empleo.
what it would mean in terms of
Usted me dice,
employment.
don
You
Carlos,
tell me,
que desde
Mr.
tiempos inmemoriales
Carlos,
la finca ha tenido
that
muchos empleados
since time in
y
the
que ha
past, the
sido
farm
el
has had
sustento de muchas
many employees
familias en
and it
esta
has been the
comunidad.
livelihood of
¿Cómo
many
ustedes
families in
ven
this
que
community.
sobre el
How do
impacto
you
que tiene esta
see
finca en la
the
comunidad?
impact that this
Ha
farm
sido un
has on the community?
reto encontrar
It
este
has been a
personal
challenge to
adiestrado
find trained personnel for
para este otro
this
trabajo agrícola, a lo mejor
agricultural work,
a lo mejor un poco más
maybe a little more, you know, it's a little more physical,
porque a veces
but
más físico,
also
pero tú
calmer. Because sometimes it's more physical, but
tan tranquilo es irte a sembrar
you're
un área
calm, you go
tirar la
and
semilla de lechuga, esa
throw the
semillita
lettuce
ahí, y
seeds or the
después
seedings, and then
confortarte
it
ver
is
esa matita
comforting to
crecer,
see the little
que tú vas
seed
viendo.
growing,
Pues igual es
and
con
you
las
could see
vacas,
it. And it's the same with the
atiendes esa
cows.
vaca
You
desde
take care
que
of a
ves que
cow
hoy
since
la
you see that
sacaste para
today you took her
chequearla de
out
preñada y ves que ya
to
está
check her
preñada, que el
pregnancy, and
veterinario
you
dice que
see
está
that
preñada
she's
hasta el
already
día
pregnant,
pare, todo eso
to the
durante
day
la
that
gestación
that
hasta que pare, que tú
they
ves que
give
dices,
birth,
tengo ahora
um,
esta cría. Yo
s-
encuentro que lo
until
que
the
hay que
gestation stops, and you see
todo ha
that there is
cambiado, como ahora que te dije de
this
los
calf.
robots,
So
pero lo que
things
hay
have
que
changed,
empezar es
like
a
we talked
enamorar
about the
a esta
robots
comunidad y a
or
estos
the drones.
niños
So what we have
de
to
que
start to make this
existe
community
esto,
and see children to fall in love with this community,
de
to show them
que
that
este
this
trabajo
exists,
es tan,
that this job can
puede
be
ser
as
tan cómodo,
comfortable
tan
or as
sencillo como
simple
el que
as
atiende a lo mejor una cabina
the
de una
person that
gasolinera ahora, porque
works at a gas
pues
station
ya
booth,
puedes hacer muchas
because
cosas a
now you
través
can
de
do
tu
many things
computador
through
o
your
de tu
computer
control, como lo del drone.
or the
Le hago una
drone
última
through a
pregunta,
control. Let me
ya,
ask you
ya que
one last
tenemos el
question.
futuro, ¿verdad?
I know we
Tienen un
have the
buen panorama
future.
en
I know
Ganadería
you
Carlos
have a good
Espinosa.
outlook in the
Ustedes,
area with Carlos Espinosa. How
¿cómo
do
se
you
ven de
see
aquí a
yourself
10 o 15 años?
in
¿Cuál es la
10 or
proyección
15 years? What is the
de este negocio
projection
familiar?
of this family business?
De aquí a 15 años.
From now to 15, how do you see yourself?
Ya empezamos con la siembra de árboles.
We have
15 años tenemos aguacates,
with
acerolas y pomarosa.
planting trees.
Chacho,
We will
estoy
have
loca por esas
avocados
pomas rosas.
and pomarosa
Pues con paciencia, temperanza y
with
la verdad que mucha
patience
dedicación. Y
and persistence and a lot of dedication. Diversifying and classifying.
Leche, de todo.
I think we're gonna have
Tenemos ahí
cow.
otros planes con
There are
quesos,
other plants
mantequilla.
with perhaps cheese
Charlie
and
siempre
butter,
dice que helados.
ice
Eso
creams.
está bueno.
Ice creams, that's a good idea.
Eso siempre van a tener un mercado cautivo.
They're
allí.
always going to have a
Jerry,
market, right? A captive market there.
Sara.
So I want to thank to the Sánchez Santos family, to the Guerrero family and Espinosa family for these interviews that were very useful to get to know how you keep the legacy of the farming families, Hispanic farming families, and their contribution to the US and the Caribbean. Now, I want to go to the Q&A section. So I understand we have some questions. Yes, India, we have 2 questions from our participants. The first one has to do with what type of measures have they taken regarding the climate changes? And that is an open question that could participate. We understand some of the farmers because of the work can't be with us, so that's why I wanted to make it an open question. I understand that Sara is here with us and she can jump in. Hi, Sara. Thank you for being here with us. No, thank you. Thank you. I'm happy to be here. We're talking about climate change. What can you tell us about some of the measures that you have taken in the Espinosa farm? Well, the one that I want to mention is the most recent, is using the drone to be able to open these spaces that could not be used before. And because they could not be used before, there is a lot of land that has been affected by the storms that have happened, the constant path on the cows. We know that if we don't take measures where they have their space, these is, spaces to eat and for grazing, it's important. So we use the drone to control the weed and using pesticides to achieve this control. If we don't use those, this is going to make these areas of grazing open so that we could put livestock. And in this way, we can improve the quality of soil in these areas where there is erosion or where the cows pass, that maybe there is not just erosion, but that they share the soil. We want them to eat good grass, and we want to take away the things that impede for this grass to grow. I think that you may feel a great responsibility in regards to the type of agricultural business, because we know livestock has a very great impact on weather, climate change. So I'm very happy that you're taking the measurements to take this practice of climate smart so that you can make it sustainable and keep the natural resources of your farm. There is another question that could be answered, Sara, by you in the interviews that you have had, but I also would like to know, but you, Jose, in the process of interviews, were you surprised of these farmers or these entrepreneurs in the marketing, production, in the passing this agricultural process? Yes, thank you for the question, because it is a very important point. I do think, like, for instance, these three families share a very important characteristics in the relationship as a family for this business to be able to continue. And it is respect to the opinions, to being able to reach consensus, to be able to advance the purposes of their own businesses or enterprises. So I could see in this three family that many times they did not necessarily agree on a specific points or in the approach in which they wanted to take the business, but the respect and love and dedication that they have in order to preserve this Hispanic legacy of agricultural families has helped them to continue with the harmony this business, and so that it can last generation after generation.
In my case, it's not that it surprised me, but it made me so proud to be able to see so many young people and also people with so much experience in the area of agriculture. I don't know, it really impressed me. I love it. I love to see Hispanic farmers that are being successful and that we can continue to have new ideas. And then for us young people, we try to like just take these people that have so much experience and take them out of the box where they're sometimes at, because maybe they don't want to try something new or something change. So very proud. I feel a lot of pride. I'm sorry, there are a couple of questions that I think are very important to respond to before we head out. So I apologize to my team for this, but one is if the use of herbicides has affected the quantity of milk. I can say no, because when we use the herbicides, we give it some rest to that area before we use it again. So when we're ready to put the cattle there, then they're not as affected. And then Carlos Espinosa farm is creating milk, so we're always trying to make sure that the quality of the milk is not affected, because we always want to have the best product for our people. Quickly, two quick questions. One of them is, are you thinking of doing organic milk? And the other is if you have gotten help from the USDA, and how did that go? I don't think that we're moving towards organic milk. we are moving towards new products that have to do with milk, whether it be cheese, ice cream, which is something my brother loves, and he loves to experiment with that idea. And we're also moving towards another side of agriculture, not just cattle. So they are beginning to have some trees, to grow trees for avocado, or the little things like that. So we can integrate them with the milk and have different products with milk again. And what was the second question again? Oh, it was about your participation that you've had with the USDA. Well, for the time being, we have not done any contracts. We've had some visits from NRCS. They have looked at the land, they're seeing what's happening, what solutions they can find. But for the moment, the last practices that we carried out were just ideas that we had here at the farm. And I say us, although I'm far away, I'm not in Puerto Rico with them, but those are the decisions that they have made. Well, I'm sure also the inputs that you have given them has also helped to develop the business. So I congratulate you for all of your amazing work, and I hope it continues for many future generations to come. With that, we're going to close this segment about the legacy of Latino families in agriculture. So congratulations. And we also encourage other families that have already been doing this work or have been involved for many generations to continue with this legacy with the same love and respect as always.